And we start in the Ashanti region, where police are investigating a shooting incident in which a female student of the Adventist Senior High School in Kumasi sustained severe injuries. The second-year student was rushed to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital upon referral by the Kwadaso SDA Hospital. The suspect, who is in the same class with the victim, was arrested by the Swami District Police. Now let's go on the phone lines now and speak to my colleague Nanayao Jima, who has been following this story for us. Nanayao, the last time we heard from the police, they were looking for the suspect's father. What's the latest update?
So according to the police, they are still on search for the father of the suspect, who is believed to be the owner of the locally manufactured pistol that was brought to the school. So the last, presently, police is still on search for this individual. It's expected that later today we'll get a briefing on the incident that happened at the Adventist Senior High School, Bantama, in the Ashanti region. But we understand that the victim involved, some surgeries were conducted on her, and presently she's recovering from the treatment that was given her at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital.
Aside this, do we have any latest update from the school?
The school also sent out a release, and which we were privileged to have seen one. It was explaining how this thing went down and the investigations that is being conducted by the school itself. There's an assurance to parents that all the resources of the school is being brought together to ensure that discipline is maintained and such incidents is not repeated in the school. So the school authorities are taking steps to avert possible incidents of this nature in the future.
Right. Thank you so much, Nanayao Jima. Let's bring in now a member of a CHAS in the Ashanti region. Will do that shortly, but then let's go through the statement of the police detailing investigations so far. Now, the Ashanti Regional Police Command says it initiated investigation into the shooting incident that occurred at the Adventist Senior High School on Friday at about 12 p.m. Now, preliminary investigation revealed that the 16-year-old second-year student brought a locally manufactured pistol loaded with 1 BB ammunition to school. The student allegedly attempted to show the firearm to his classmate. During the exchange, the firearm accidentally discharged, hitting another student. All names of those we know are being withheld. Now, the injured student has since been treated at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital and is currently in stable condition, as we just heard from my colleague Nanayao Jima there. Now, the juvenile suspect has been arrested, and the empty cartridge has also been recovered and retained as evidence. During the questioning, the suspect stated that he took the weapon from his father's bedroom without his father's knowledge. Authorities are actively working to locate and arrest the father to assist with investigation. And so we have on the line now Ashanti Regional CHAS Chairman Suleiman Yeboah on the line with us. We're grateful for your time, sir. So far, what's been the preliminary report you've received over this particular incident?
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you again for giving me this rare opportunity. Yes, currently I can confirm that the school is calm. Teaching and learning is going on smoothly, and students are being sagged up to be able to continue with their studies, particularly the classroom that the shooting incident happened. Everything is going on as expected in the school as I speak. And then investigations are also ongoing. The regional inspectorate team, that is the Ghana Education Service, just left the school. We have also conducted their investigations, and probably in the coming weeks we will get a report from them. That is currently that I give out right now.
Do you have any idea that the state at which the police investigations are right now? Maybe they've been able to locate the suspect's father, or at least even, gotten more information about what happened.
Currently, we don't have that kind of information. Our interest now is to ensure that there is smooth teaching and learning going on in the school. We will leave that, for the police to do
handle
their own investigations to apprehend the father. Thank you.
Right. Do we know, what do we know about this suspect? Is he fond of, going contrary to school rules, or this is the first time something of this nature has happened with his name on it?
Oh, yes, this is the first time. I think from the report that I got from the school, he took an exit to go to the house on medical exit. But when the date that he was supposed to return expired, he turned himself into a day student, because I think where he stays is closer to the school. He could come to school on daily basis. So that is all that we know about him currently. But since last Friday, we've not heard anything that he is a recalcitrant or he's a bad student or he's known to be doing such things. Thank you.
Right. So do we know how is the school, how the students faring? I know you said it remains calm, but what is the state of the minds of the students as we speak?
Excellent. Definitely they will be in shock. I believe that even within our own areas, when we hear gunshot, you'll be frightened. And then as teachers, as administrators, we have been trained a lot in psychology to be able to get these students back on track. And that is exactly what we are doing to ensure that teaching and learning goes on in the school, in peace.
Well, considering the severity of the situation, what steps is the school taking to ensure the security of students, as well as to ensure that this incident doesn't happen again?
Yes, this time we are looking at a broader spectrum, whereby we have entreated, at least we received a circular from the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. They have directed us to do certain things. And from today, I can confidently tell you that most schools, including Adventist Senior High Bantama, we have started, searching the students uninformed. We've started going into their dormitories and searching their trunks, and then also educating them on the risk involved in bringing some of these gadgets or ammunition to school. In fact, I can tell you that during assembly session this morning, most of the heads were at assembly to educate the students on some of these things. And the search is ongoing. The president of Charles, who is the headmaster of Opoku High School, just finished his search at Opoku Senior High School, Opoku High School. And what he saw, I can confidently tell you that he never expected those things that we saw this morning. And I believe that all heads can also come out with some of these, revelations as we move on.
So this search is an regional, wide kind of search. All the schools in the Ashanti region are undertaking such search.
Yeah, this time it is throughout the country, because the circular was meant for the whole country.
Right. What items did they find?
Please say it again.
What did you find following your search?
Oh, yeah. Usually, the student, because they were caught unaware that we were going to search them, you see some knives in their trunks. You see, within the school, there are so many things that happen. And this is giving us an eye-opener that we should do a lot more to be able to get to the bottom of some of things. Now, we are even investigating how students form groups within schools that they fight each other, and now they are getting to know more about things during the incident at high school. So you see some knives, you see some sharp blades, some I think that you least expected that you could get it from students. So, and it is helping. But for ammunition, for a gun, I've not heard of any head saying they found gun in any of their students in their schools. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, parents are at home, they're listening or watching right now. And what kind of assurance can you give parents listening to you of the safety of their wards, as well as ensuring that they're all right until they go home on vacation?
Excellent. I believe that this is a collective effort. The school, as I told you, we are doing our best to ensure that our students are secured. Their security is there at the topmost level this time that we are speaking. And parents should also help us with some of the information that they know about their wards. It's a collective thing. We will do our best to ensure that their wards are in safe hands and they are secure. They have the peaceful mindset to be able to learn. And for that matter, we also entreat parents to also add up. And not parents alone, various stakeholders around the community and all stakeholders must come on board for us to, address this unexpected, behavior from our students.
Right. We're so grateful for your time this morning, Mr. Suleiman Ayeboah, who is head of CHAS at the Ashanti region. Well, this is one of many incidents of gun violence that took place last week. Let's run you through what our research desk has put together. So at least from your screen, gun violence incidents in the past week, we know of at least 3 incidents. 3 people have been injured and then 5 deaths. Details of this are that the 4 were killed in a gunfight at Riamwase in the Ashanti region. A pregnant woman was killed. Also 2 others were injured by unknown gunmen at Kupalgu in the northern region. And also a 2nd-year student shot by a classmate at ADASS in Kumasi, which we just finished, talking to the CHAS headmaster about. Now, civilian-held firearms in the country is over 2 million, which is basically 2,280,000 small arms held by civilians in the country as we speak. And out of these arms, 46% are unregistered, which is really worrying. Now, in the millions, civilian-held firearms, as we know, is 2.28 million, and also registered is 54% of these arms are registered, and 46% unregistered. And on average, Ghana records 700 violent deaths annually from gun violence. So 56% violent deaths in Ghana are from firearms. Well, if we're looking at the situation in West Africa on your screen, and this is the latest data from as of 2023, I think Nigeria is the highest with about 37,035, and then the least in Sierra Leone, which is about 215. Moving on, it's deadline day for Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo to submit her preliminary response to petitions for her removal as set by President John Mahama. While it's unclear whether the Chief Justice has submitted her response, the next steps in the removal process depends on her comments or response. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Baba has more in this report.
Developments surrounding the petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo from office have sparked debate. After President Mahama forwarded the 3 petitions to the Council of State on March 24, 2025 seeking a removal, Chief Justice Torkornoo responded by stating that she had not received the petitions or been informed of their contents. She also emphasized her right to a hearing before any decision could be made. In response, the President issued a letter through his Executive Secretary giving the Chief Justice 10 days to submit her preliminary response. While it is still unclear whether the Chief Justice has met the deadline for submitting a response, the next steps hinge on her comments. If the petitions are dismissed, the matter will end there. If not, a 5-member committee will be appointed to investigate the issue further. The Chief Justice will be given the opportunity to defend herself during a private inquiry, after which the committee will make a recommendation. A day after President Mahama forwarded the petitions to the Council of State, in a meeting with the Ghana Bar Association, he said neither the NDC nor his government hold any animosity towards the judiciary.
Right, there's this perception that we have a problem with the legal fraternity and things like that. I think that if you look at the kind of people, Marietta and all of us sitting here, we're not people who have any such animosity towards the judiciary.
Well, let's engage in lawyer Nana Kofi Safo Kantanga for more education on this. We've got our tabs on this and would give you updates on what happens in subsequent bulletins. But now, Nana, let me ask you, the time for the Chief Justice to give a response to the allegations against her elapsed today. Now, what are the alternatives if we do not know whether she has actually responded? But if she hasn't, does silence mean anything?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mamiesi. And then good morning to our listeners and viewers this morning. Yes, as you rightly put, as has been said time and over, what is happening now in respect of the removal of the Chief Justice cannot be found in the Constitution, as in respect of the prima facie, cannot be found in the Constitution, and particularly Article 146. And we all know that it is the Baiketi, the J case, as the J versus Attorney General, which made provision for the determination of a prima facie determination by the President with the Council of State. Now, moving forward, we have come to another leg as to whether the President or the Council of State can give the Chief Justice a hearing. Now, the JHM case made provision for the, by virtue of purposive interpretation, for the President and the Council of State to give the Chief Justice a preliminary hearing in the determination of a prima facie case against her.
Yeah.
Now, what is happening now in respect of the subject matter on which we are dealing now cannot be found in the Constitution, particularly Article 146. And also, it cannot be found in the J2's case. Yes, it cannot be found. Why am I saying this? Now, the J2 case only made provision for the Chief Justice to be heard on the preliminary determination of a prima facie case against her. Now, the Constitution, or neither the Constitution or the J2 case, give a procedure as to how the Chief Justice can be heard.
Right.
Now, the President only gave the Chief Justice 10 days for her to submit her response for the determination of a prima facie case against her. Now, this is just an administrative directive from the Presidency and the Council of State. Now, there is no particular procedure. Later on, maybe in subsequent years, another government can also come that the Chief Justice, I'm giving you 5 days. I'm giving you 15 days, depending on the volume or the how weightier the petition against the Chief Justice is. So there's no particular procedure. Now the President has given the Chief Justice 10 days for her to write her response for the determination of the prima facie case.
Right.
Now, there's no particular procedure. Another President can also come, that's fine. I won't give you any number of days. Now, in determining for us to give you a hearing, now we will call you and appear before the Council of State for you to be heard. It's also a manner of hearing, not in written form. That's what I'm saying. The procedure, there's no procedure in respect of some of these.
There are no clear-cut lines as to how to proceed in this manner. Well,
yes.
I mean, the Chief Justice fought for natural justice to prevail.
Yes.
And she's been given the opportunity to respond to the petitions against her. Well, the day elapses today, 10 whole days.
Yes.
Whether she's responded or not, I mean, let's take this scenario. If the response does not come in, we take it as silence. Does it mean anything?
Yes. Now, as you rightly said, we are not aware whether the Chief Justice has submitted her response or not. Yeah. Now, if she hasn't, now nothing stops the Chief Justice from getting back to the presidency for an extension of time within which to file her response. Yes, nothing stops her from writing to the president for an extension of time.
Right.
Now, if she doesn't give a response to the presidency and the Council of State, now it will be deemed as if the Chief Justice has waived her right of hearing. Because under the circumstance, when it happens, then the president and the Council of State have satisfied their constitutional mandate of giving her a break. Right. So nobody can say, oh no, the 10 days is just an administrative directive from the president. So which the Chief Justice has accepted. If she has any problems with it, she could have written back that the 10 days is too small. But if she hasn't submitted, nothing stops her from writing back to the presidency for an extension of time to file a response. But if she doesn't, by the close of the day, if she doesn't, it means she has waived her right to be heard. And the president and the Council of State can go ahead for the determination of a prima facie case against her, for her to appear before the five-member committee.
So in case she, you know, there's a case against her, she appears before the committee, that may possibly lead to her removal or not. But then, what are the broader legal implications if she's removed?
If the Chief Justice is removed, then in the interim, maybe the senior member on the bench can act as Chief Justice. Then the appointment process will kick in. As how a normal chief justice will be appointed. Yes, if she is removed, then somebody can act. A senior member on the bench can act, and then the appointment process can kick in. So that will be the legal implication.
Right.
Then if she doesn't agree, she has the right to take the government on for maybe if there is a breach or anything, she can sue for anything.
Who will she sue in this case?
For if there is any breach of the procedure, if there is any breach of procedure, maybe during the committee stage, anything at all can happen. Maybe she wasn't given a fair hearing. Anything can happen. If there is any breach at all, she can take. It's same as the ADASS cases. After the justice of the Supreme Court were removed, they also took suits against the Attorney General and Tiger Eye and others. So if there is any breach of any process or anything due her, she can take an action against the government.
So
yes, and then I
want to understand. In the government, who is it? The Attorney General? Is it the President? Is it the state? Right.
Yes, the state. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time here on our desk. Now, moving on, a high-level meeting between government of Ghana and the U.S. ambassador will take place as authorities race to respond to the United States imposition of a 10% universal tariff on imports from Ghana and other countries. The Ministries of Trade, Finance, Foreign Affairs and Agribusiness and Industry will lead the talks, aiming to safeguard Ghana's export interests and sustain investor confidence amid concerns over trade disruptions. Meanwhile, African ministers responsible for trade will deliberate next week following the latest executive order. There's more in the following report.
U.S. President Donald Trump receiving applause at the White House after signing new executive orders imposing new import tariffs for countries across the world. After coming into force on April 9, some African countries such as Lesotho could be paying as high as 50% on U.S. import tariffs. Giving the far-reaching implications, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene, has hinted that Africa is exploring ways by which it could effectively respond.
The President of the United States has given us a wake-up call. And the wake-up call is that we must accelerate our own economic self-sufficiency. The Ministers of Trade will meet on the 14th of April to deliberate on this matter and exactly how our continent should respond.
In the meantime, the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the National Bar Association of the U.S. Although this engagement is aimed at deepening cooperation, there are fears that U.S. President Donald Trump's rhetoric of America First could leave Africa benefiting less than it should. But Secretary General Wamkeli Mene says that will not be the case.
We will continue to pursue that trade and investment partnership that is based on mutual respect and mutual benefits. And this is what we agreed to with Ambassador Tai, the then U.S. Trade Representative. We obviously will not be in a position to condone or support America first and everybody else last. That is not a partnership that is within the spirit of the MOU that we have with the United States. We will pursue what is in Africa's best interests, not last interests, but best interests, as we seek a path forward in respect of AGOA. Combined with some of the trade instruments that we have introduced, as well as the overall liberalization objective of the AfCFTA, I believe that we're well positioned as a continent to turn this crisis into an opportunity.
Stakeholders remain hopeful that the latest partnership with the National Bar Association at least will provide a platform for engaging dialogue on the legal and economic frameworks that support trade and investments across the African continent. Blaise Ogan's report for JoyNews, Accra.
Well, back to the studios now. Let's speak to Louis Yao-Afo, who is Group Executive Director of the African Continental Free Trade Policy Network. We're grateful for your time here on our desk. First of all, from where you sit, when this meeting takes place today, in your opinion, what would these ministers be talking about?
Thank you for having me. And good morning.
Good morning. Could you please amplify your voice a bit for us?
Good morning to your viewers. I hope it's better.
If it could go up a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Right.
I think that if you are looking at the African trade ministers, if they meet, the options are clear. There is no turning back from Donald Trump. That is fact. There is no turning back from Donald Trump. What they need to do is to rather look inward, change the alternative pattern of their trade agreement with outside the African Continental Free Trade. Then again, it is important for the ministers to really consider which categories of products really has been hardly hit by the tariffs. Because I think this is a reciprocal kind of tariff. And he is based on the deficit that his country has with any other country and slash it over two. Therefore, if you take Ghana, for example, after 2024, the U.S. was in the deficit of almost over $1 billion, and Ghana was just about 700 and something million, meaning that U.S. was in deficit. In other words, how do you overturn or how do you respond to such a policy? And that is why, if you are looking at the African trade ministers, because under AfCFTA they all went as collective, they must go in that collective manner, but they must negotiate based upon the categories of concessions that they themselves have within the agreement. It's quite complex. because at the end of the day, even within the AfCFTA, the regional blocks traded based on concessions. And those concessions were based upon various categories of products. West Africa went to about 5,000 categories of products. Other countries went a single. So it's even under AS, we don't have a collective bargaining. That is what's important. So if they are meeting, they have to look at the collective bargaining approach, which is very, very important for the first point. The collective bargaining approach, which is very, very important. And when they are able to settle on the collective bargaining approach, then they can negotiate with the Trump administration to really either delay or negotiate for reduction.
And so you say that Africa's strength is in its unity, coming together to push this agenda.
Yes, basically, you have a concession. They all have concessions. It is important to really come together. If you say come together, they're already together. But the important point is that they're already together. So what they need to do is that they need to, in fact, after Secretariat has an MOU with the U.S. trade representative, there is already an existing MOU with the U.S. So if they want to go through that route, that is also okay. They have a route, they have a USTR agreement with After Secretariat. So that binds the whole After member states at one block. And they can go through that route and say, look, based upon this MOU we have with you, we want to come through this route as one collective body. So this is what we are not going to let you flash it on individual countries when it comes to AfCFTA. We want to come together as one, just as the MOU stated. This is the approach they have to go through first. If that is understood, then they can reduce it or ask for collective reduction of the tariffs, looking at the quantum of tariffs based upon each country that has been given. Because South Africa has about 30, other countries have about 10, others have about 15. Let's ignore the quantum of the approach, and let's rather go for a collective, maybe 1% slash on all member states under AfCFTA. This is the approach that they need to go through. Because it can never be zero from the U.S. U.S. will not budge to say that we want to give zero tariff because of our MOU. No, they won't.
Well, it looks like we are in a very difficult situation, but really what long-term strategies should African countries or perhaps Ghana consider to build resilience against such directives going into the future?
Yes, I think that basically we have to look inward. We have to look inward through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement itself. Because the agreement was to boost intra-African trade, and it was based upon comparative advantage. Therefore, it is important that we look and have comparative advantage trade-offs. For example, if you take Ghana, last 3 years, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire decided to reach a bargaining agreement on cocoa, because we realized that the sale of cocoa, the sale of chocolate, all goes to be in the Netherlands, about 80%. Therefore, we need to also encourage what we call the guided trade approach. The guided trade approach or guided trade initiative is where countries under the AfCFTA can come together and say, look, we have set this date that we want to trade among ourselves, maybe about 7 countries. And we are identifying maybe 10 categories of products. We are shipping them to each country under the tariff regime. Some have reduced it by over a period of 5 years, some say 10 years. So when we engage in this guided trade, it helps. Again, we also have to establish trade houses within each state party. Ghana has a trade house in Kenya. So all Ghanaian products are sold there. And then these suppliers or companies who have their exports there, they receive the repatriation, they receive the revenue through that route of Ghana Ministry of Trade and Industry. This is very, very important because the problem facing the African Continental Free Trade is that it's like who should call the shot, which country is ready to move. And so guided trade initiative could be another approach. Then again, another good approach is through the special economic zone. What we have here are free zones, because special economic zones is the improved form of the free zone, whereby there are a lot of economies of scale that really takes place within a zone, within an enclave, which gives room for more exports to be expanded. And then you reduce tax, you give tax exemptions, you give tax holidays and what have you, to enable most of these companies to really export within these special economic zones.
Right.
I think these three approaches can be enough for the start.
Right. Grateful so much for your time here on our desk.
You're welcome.
Now, President John Mahama has named another set of Metropolitan Municipal Executive and District Chief Executive Officers. This will be followed by an approval from the various assembly members. This process has had some hitches. Police in the Upper East region are investigating suspected arson after the Talensi constituency office of the NDC was set ablaze at dawn on Saturday. Our checks reveal the attack may have been carried out by party foot soldiers disgruntled over the nomination of John Milim Nabunya as the DCE of the area. Well, how do we stem the tide of attacks that is being reported? Let's speak to Andrews Bediako, who is a local governance expert, former MC German South. We're grateful for your time, sir, on a desk. You've been hearing of some of the hitches that have been going on to the extent that violence, some offices of the NDC have been torched. How do you respond to this? Kindly unmute for us, sir.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much, my sister. Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. I think it's very bad, and this is not the first time. And if we continue this way, it's not going to be the last time. And I'm afraid the reason why many people are losing confidence in our democracy is some of these things. And I think, as I've been saying, the only way to cap some of these things is the election of MMDCEs. If we continue the trajectory, if we continue this way, as we are doing, I'm afraid. Now, the first batch was released. We saw some violence in my own region, Bono region, some places like Banda. Unfortunately, that is the constituency of the local government minister. In his own backyard, we saw violence there. You go to places like Wamfie, we saw violence there. And as you mentioned, the second batch also came. And when the third batch is also released, we are going to see a lot of some of these things in the various constituencies and the various municipalities. And I don't think it's the best, as I've been saying. But the only way...
But this process goes through, I mean, there's a series of process that gets the authorities to arrive at these names. I know the vigorous process that goes through this. How is it that, or what causes it to get to this point where there's violence, there's misunderstanding and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely, my sister, all these people who filed for them to be nominated by the president have supported. And if your candidate is not elected, because they know they all qualify, and definitely one person has to be given that position. But the supporters out there think that definitely it must come from their side. So if they don't get it, definitely those people who did not get their candidate selected or nominated by the president will not agree. And if care is not taken, as I said, the only way to go is to have these MMDCs elected. But what I'm hearing from the grounds, if that is true, that means it's very disheartening, and where we are going is not good. For example, during the confirmation, where people are charging these nominees for them, some places 2,000, some places 3,000, 5,000, and to about 10,000. And if you do some of these things, and if we don't have these MMDCs elected, all these things are going to continue. Because if you have an assembly that have electoral area, or the assembly members constitute about the number around, say, 60, and you are charging the person even 5,000 or 3,000, you multiply by the number of assembly members. So before the person becomes the MC, right from the go, definitely the person has a lot of debt that he need to fight with, and I don't think it's the way to go. So, as I said, if we have these MMDCs elected, it's going to solve some of these problems the violence nature that we see and the monetization of the system, whereby people charge MMDCE before they confirm them and all those kind of things. I don't think it's the best way to go. So as I said, we should have these MMDCE selected, and some of these problems are going to be resolved.
But Mr. Bediako, until we get to election of MMDCEs, we're not there yet. Now, what should we do? Because this is becoming unbecoming where, people are torching, destroying property, state property for that matter, because their person was not elected. I mean, it's just going to be one person, chosen anyway. So why can't they accept that one person has to be there? It may not be your favorite.
Yeah, first of all, it's a criminal offense if you destroy other party property or any property at all in your electoral area or constituency or the municipality. It's a criminal offense. So I think that the police should look up for those people who are causing those mayhem within those municipalities. And I don't think it's the best thing to do. But my dear, look, we are human beings, and that is the nature of human beings. The decentralization as we practice, as we have in Ghana now, if we continue this way, there is no way you can stop some of these things, unless the security agencies also put their foot on the ground. But the whole thing is that, the politics that we do in Ghana, as usual, even police will tell you we are still chasing the people who did that and this and that, because they also try to protect their job. The person who will be nominated and confirmed will be the head of security within the municipality. So they also think that, okay, if we do this and that this happen, what is going to happen when the person assumes office as an MC or DC? So that is the difficulty the police also face within the various municipalities and the various assemblies. And if that happens, it's the state that suffers. Right. And the people suffer because, as I said, there is no way we can have two people to become MMDCs within one municipality or one district. One person has to be better. The one who did not get also have supporters. We need to talk to them that if it is not you today, this is politics. If it is not you today, tomorrow it might be you. But as usual, that is the politics that we have done for ourselves in this country. And I think that is not the way to go. The best way to go is to have these MMDCs elected. And some of these things will go out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bediako Andrews. And he's a former MC or DCE for German South. Now, work has restarted on the Tema-Aflao road following a directive from the Minister for Roads Governments, Abuja, to resume work on the 17-kilometer highway. The construction stalled since December 2022. Let me speak to Collins Frimpong, who is on the grounds for us. Collins, what can you report? Collins, unmute for us and let us hear you.
Hello, Mami. Can you hear?
I can hear you now, Claire.
So, somewhere around last week, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Government, Abuja directed for the contractor, local contractor working on this particular highway, that's the Tema-Aflao road, and also that of the Ashraman-Athenia road. Two separate contractors, but that of the Tema-Aflao road is being done by a UK company named as HF company, and they employed the services of First Time, a local company. And so currently, after the directive from the minister, PHM has currently resumed work on the Tema-Aflao road. So here currently is the community 5 side of the highway that is resumed work. It started today, April 7th. And this particular stretch is a 17-kilometer highway that will start from the Tema roundabout and will end at the Central University, and it is linking the Tema and Aflao enclave. So it is going to cost about $105 million US. If you recall, the project started about 3 years ago, but somewhere in December 2022, the project stalled due to the domestic debt exchange program that the government initiated. So it affected the funding of this particular project. So as this particular government, the John Mahama-led government took office, they have started or they initiated processes for the construction on this particular stretch begins. And we've been speaking to the contractor on this particular highway, and he tells us that if everything should go as planned, if government should release the money, $105 million for this particular project, it is expected to be completed within 18 months. That is less than 3 years. This project should be completed over here. And they are urging government that even though this particular project is being done with a loan facility, they expect the government to expedite processes on reinstating the loan facility.
Right. Thank you so much, Collins Frimpong, bringing us update on the Tema-Aflao Road project. You're listening or watching News Desk here on the JoyNews channel. We'll take a break. We'll return with business.
And for business here on News Desk, my name is Winston Taki, and out to our first business story. Former Trade and Industry Minister Dr. Ekospio Gabra has stated that the current global tariff war could have an indirect impact on Ghana's economy if not managed properly. He made this remark at the Ghana Corporate Finance Awards Gala Dinner 2025 in Accra over the weekend.
But certainly as a Ghanaian citizen, I would hope that the government of President Mahama and the outstanding colleague, Dr. Atu Forsen, who presented a budget that I think most people found fairly satisfactory recently, will add that to their many thoughts and concerns so that appropriate actions are taken to protect the Ghanaian market and industry. Among them, at least I've seen President Mahama come out, and I think Dr. Forsen has also said that there will be measures that will be taken to protect Ghanaian industry. So the government of Ghana, I hear, will prevent at least state-owned institutions from importing items that could readily be manufactured in Ghana. That's one simple and very straightforward way of at least making sure that as many of those goods that can be produced here in Ghana by yourselves or by enterprises that are not here are produced here rather than imported from elsewhere with all the imported costs that I've just described. But since Ghana is already a highly import-dependent country, because even when you're manufacturing products, intermediate goods, the machinery, the equipment, the chemicals that you may need even to manufacture your product often has to be imported. So however you look at it, some importation will take place, which could increase the cost of business and cost of products. I didn't come prepared to make a speech, but having been asked to say a few words, I've chosen to deal with the global economic crisis that we are hearing about, the effects on international trade, especially of US tariffs that are now globalized, the Chinese in particular, who the US on one hand were targeting, but who have also responded with equal anger and equal measure. If you hit us 34%, we also hit you 34%. So as we have said even in our own little country, when the elephants fight, it's what? The grass that surface. So we are the grass in this particular instance. And I'm sorry to say that some suffering is likely to take place, but we hope for the best. And I'm saying that our government can take some measures, as I believe they've already started taking, to alleviate the likely impact of some of these actions, international actions, in the domestic economy.
Now, away from that, government missed its Treasury bill target for the third consecutive time this year. The Bank of Ghana auction results showed that government also rejected a little over 2.3 billion cedis of the total bid, despite recording a 7% undersubscription. There is more in this report.
The government got 4.05 billion cedis from the sale of the short-term instrument as against a target of 4.39 billion cedis. The majority of the bids came from the 91-day bill. About 3.380 billion cedis, representing 83% of the total bids, came from the 3-month bill. The government only accepted 1.44 billion cedis of the bid. For the 182-day bill, only 501.17 million cedis were tendered. The uptake was 81.09 million cedis. A little over 176 million cedis were tendered for the 364-day bill, with the government accepting 161 million cedis of the bids. Meanwhile, interest rates continued to fall on the yield curve. The yield on the 91-day T-bill declined by only 7 basis points to 15.64%. The 182-day bill also dropped to 16.50% from the previous 16.70%. The rate on the 364-day bill also declined marginally to 18.83%.
That's all for business here, News Desk. To bring you more updates, back to Mami Esi for the rest of the bulletin. Mami Esi.
Thank you, Winston. And on that U.S. trade tariff meeting, let's go over to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, where our colleague Blaise Soga is standing by with the U.S. ambassador.
And the sort of details of what these global tariffs are, and some things where the United States and Ghana can improve our trade relations.
We're in the lowest. Watching us live on the JoyNews channel, we are coming to you live from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, where the meeting between the U.S. Ambassador Virginia Palmer and, of course, high officials of the Ministries of Trade, Finance, and also now the Foreign Affairs Minister is just concluding. What you see now is that in a few minutes from now, we will see the American Ambassador Virginia Palmer file out to that meeting. It's been hours of a very engaging moment today that we've seen, and of course you can see the ambassador there filing out after a meeting this morning. But Ambassador, good morning. Do you have any few words to share with us?
Oh, I had a great meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we talked about how the relationship with Ghana is very strong and how we can keep it going that way. And the sort of details of what these global tariffs are, and some things where the United States and Ghana can improve our trade relations.
We're in the lowest tariff regime. What does that mean to, between the relations that we have?
Well, I hope that it means that Ghana will have some benefit vis-a-vis its competitors, but we'll dig in and continue to talk.
You've convinced the minister enough.
The minister and I are good friends.
Is a bit high for Ghana.
Well, so there you have it, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, speaking to us there exclusively and giving us a sense of perhaps what might have happened throughout the engagement for today live here on the JoyNews channel. And you've just got it first on the platform, a clear indication that yes, indeed, that meeting has happened. And you see the U.S. Ambassador filing out of that meeting. We'll be bringing you some updates, but what you've just seen now is just the beginning of a raft of measures that the government of Ghana will be announcing in a couple of days to come, because clearly this engagements will now inform the government better on what might happen in the coming days. We're awaiting an official statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Trade, and also the Finance Ministry on what the next steps might be. But indeed, we have gotten that clear indication from the American ambassador yet again, repeating the quote she repeated to us a couple of days ago when she hosted a few of us as journalists and explaining to us perhaps what might have been going on in the U.S., specifically in Washington. And for her, despite the rhetoric and despite all that's happening in the U.S., Ghana indeed remains important to the U.S., a reason for which she indeed honored the invitation here today, which in diplomatic terms indicates that the ambassador is willing to engage with the Ghanaian counterparts. We're not sure of what the next moves might be. All we've seen so far is the directive from the president indicating to the finance minister to take a number of measures as alternative moves in the wake of the Trump directives. What we're seeing now is in regards to trade, but obviously we're surmising that issues about even foreign aid might feature some more. So what happened last month was that, of course, there was a 90-day pause, and the president had directed the finance minister to find financing gaps threats and challenges that are being created as a result of the cuts in aid. But a lot more is happening here at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and we'll be giving you a sense of what will happen beyond the 90-day pause. It's clear now to us that
Blessed Suga from the Foreign Affairs Ministry giving us updates on government's meeting with the U.S. ambassador on the latest Trump tariff. But that's it here on News Desk. We're grateful for your company.